There's so many insights there, I'm not even sure where to begin. Yeah, not charting interest is how we show our love. Just the film reserve left us more. I tell you that the title of this next talk, when I was reading the pitch, kind of scared me a lot, because I am absolutely the least salesperson-y person, I think, working in this industry or any of its ancillary places. So when Frank Mungeam wanted to talk about the idea that journalists should ask for money, I kind of broke into a sweat. But he believes it's going to bring better community journalism. So Frank, you're going to have to prove that to me. And let's hear what you guys say.
This goes in the follow that category. Want to improve journalism, make journalists ask for money. That's the surprising lesson I've learned from leading OMA's Lab for Journalism Funding these past 3 years. It turns out most journalists hate asking for money. It feels like I've failed, they say. It seems like a handout, they say. But there's another reason journalists don't say. Power. Asking for money is not what we do. We hold others accountable. We decide what's news. We set the agenda. Freedom of the press, power of the press. Asking for money is about giving up that power, admitting we don't have all the answers, that we need our community support as much as they need our journals. Fundamentally, it's about trading hubris for humility, moving from journalism that too often has been self-serving to reporting that serves community. Seeking philanthropic funding shifts the focus from being about us and our needs to being about the community and what the community needs from us. In our fundraising lab, we actually make newsrooms start with community listening to hear what their communities really need, rather than what we as journalists assume we know they need. We then help them create journalism projects that are responsive to those needs. We call this finding unity of purpose. It's that sweet spot where good journalism, community need, and funder goals align. Asking for money, it turns out, changes the journalism that we do. Because if it bleeds, it may lead, but it won't lead to funding. Seeking philanthropy is transformative, and not just for nonprofits, as we've heard, but I would argue especially for for-profit journalism outfits. Here are just 3 examples from our lab. Louisiana, fun fact, tops for corruption among states. The Advocate Times-Picayune partnered with local funders and the Ford Foundation to take their Pulitzer-winning investigative reporting to serve all Louisianans. The Record Journal in Connecticut learned through its community listening that it was underserving its fast-growing Latino population. They built partnerships, hired a team of multilingual journalists, and helped the Latino community vaccination rates go from lagging to leading. The Observer in Sacramento, long-serving African-American-owned publication, broke this story of misuse of COVID funding in the community and the equity issues around it. Publisher Larry Lee has been able to triple his coverage of his community through philanthropic partnership. This is the real power of the press, to drive impact and outcomes that really matter to communities. That's what we get when we focus on unity of purpose. So how do we press forward together? I've worked with 11 newsrooms through our lab. Thank you. It's late. And I think there are a few lessons. This is what philanthropy helps us do better. Cooperation over competition, inclusion over division, and impact over outputs. I also want to, before I leave, quote the great 20th century philosopher Barney, the purple dinosaur, and say that please and thank you turn out to be magic words, journalists. And so, in that spirit, I want to say thank you to the coaches in our lab, to the 100 newsrooms who've done the work to center their service around their communities, and to Google News Initiative, whose continued support makes the lab possible. And finally, I've learned this through the lab, this apparently famous phrase in philanthropy, which is ask for money, you'll get advice. Ask for advice, you might get money. And so, for newsrooms, I leave you with this advice. Ask for money. It will help you do better journalism.